Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to author Raymond Klein with the Interstellar Police Force, Book 1. It's the historic mission. Thanks for joining us. How are you today? Calling in from Florida by Skype.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Okay, so this is a little bit of definitely sci-fi, a little bit of Battlestar Galactic type things going on. So how did you come up with this?
Actually, the original concept came to me in a song that I heard on the radio. I was just driving home one day, and a song came on the radio, and I pictured a '59 Ford Thunderbird coming out of the sky and landing next to me in the lane next to me. The guy driving and a Doberman Pinscher in the passenger seat, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, the technology is really good in here.
Oh, thank you.
I loved how the spaceship turns into the '59 Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, yeah. They have very limited information on the human race that only goes up to the late 1950s. And so the computer that replicates everything has nothing else to reference. So it replicates their car or their space cruiser into a 1959 Ford Thunderbird. And of course, they think that they're not sure of the year. And when they find out that it's possibly a 40 to 50-year-old car, that builds their anxiety a little bit.
Well, definitely. And the changeover was really crazy, but it made it so funny. I mean, you have this whole epic battle coming up, and then you just have all these funny things going on.
Yeah, I was always a big fan of the TV show Firefly, and I liked the way they would take a drama and have comical undertones. And I'm a funny guy, so I thought that's, I was going to write a drama and, of course, put in some funny elements.
And what about Genghis? How did that character develop? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Genghis Khan, as in the Genghis Khan, the Mongol. Actually, I had a Doberman Pinscher by that name, and he's in that, doghouse in the sky right now. But he was a big couch potato. He and I would sit on the couch and watch the History Channel and stuff. So I wanted a dog in it, and of course, it was going to be a Doberman Pinscher by the name of Genghis Khan.
Oh, that's funny. It worked out so funny.
Good, thank you. And the reason why Genghis gets this name and the lead character, Jeff Trent, is, again, they only have limited information on the human race, and one file they have is the worst of movies ever produced by the human race. So the computer will reference that file. So Jeff Trent gets the name from the 1936 movie Reefer Madness. Very funny movie. If you ever want to get a chuckle out of how they thought marijuana would affect people. And Genghis gets his name from the John Wayne movie that came out in, I think, '57. The Conqueror, starring John Wayne as Genghis Khan. And that was an absolutely terrible movie. So that's how they get their names.
So you watch a lot of terrible movies?
I try not to.
But you remember them.
Yeah. you kind of remember the really bad ones.
Well, what's your background? Because the way you laid out the story, it's exceptionally well written.
Oh, thank you. Actually, this is the first attempt at a full-length novel I've ever done. I did write I was trying to write, this was about 2006. I was trying to write a film script based on an old Twilight Zone episode. And I wanted to modernize it and possibly turn it into an indie film. What it turned out being was a very short novel. So I didn't know much about copyright laws, so I put it aside, but realized I can do this. And then about a month later, the Interstellar Police Force came to mind, and I started on it. Took me a while, but it's just a finished product.
And how long did it take you to finish it?
Actually, I started it around 2007, and I would write for like 3 months, put it down for 6, write for 2, put it down for 3. That went on until about 2015, 2016, where I spent almost all my time on it because I wanted to complete it. I had the ideas down. And I completed it in 2017.
Wow. How many books are going to be in the series?
It's going to be 3.
3?
I'm about 95% finished with book 2, The Beauty of Violence. That one went a lot faster than the first one. And hopefully that'll be out in about 6-8 months.
Wow. Where do you get your sarcasm from?
I think that's just me. I don't take a whole lot of things seriously. Well, at least I may not verbalize it, but it's in my head. You know, it just kind of came natural that I wanted it to be kind of like a fish out of water scenario or a buddy comedy kind of a thing. So it came very natural for the banter between the two main characters, and it was actually kind of easy to do.
Wow. The fish out of water definitely fits. It was just, it was just so funny. I haven't had a book in so long that just made me laugh out loud while I was reading it. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So you're a definite coffee addict?
Yeah. I was having some coffee here right before we started here. But I can drink a lot of coffee, and so do my characters, as you know.
Well, coffee showed up a lot in the book. That's why I asked.
Right. It's like one of the first things they experiment with when they make it to Earth, and they like it a lot.
No. And what about food? Why did you come up with all the junk food? Is that really your diet?
No, not mine. I kind of figured, what would extraterrestrials, if they came to Earth on a covert mission, they would go for the most simple thing they could find, which would be pizza and hot dogs and things like that. So I kind of figured that would be the first thing that they would gravitate towards.
That makes sense. What about the whole plot with the 4 prisoners that escaped to Earth that they're actually chasing?
Well, I needed a good plot. So it actually, I think I originally visualized about 8 to 12 prisoners escaping. And then I thought to myself, well, you got to write scenarios for all those characters. Let's cut it down a little bit. So there are the main bad guy, if you will, Prodor Moffat, and he escaped with 4 other prisoners. So the first book is going to concentrate on catching 2 of them. I'm thinking the second book will concentrate on 2 more, and the third book will be their search for the actual search for Prodor. And of course, in the 2 books, Prodor is He's a serial killer, so he's leaving bodies in town, and he's taunting the police in newspaper articles and things like that to, try to catch him. And he's also a doctor, so he's got a side job of this narcotic that he's putting out on the street that's very addictive, and it's bringing in more money for him so he can keep his operation going.
Yeah, that was really well played out.
Oh, thank you.
Just they really caught on to that whole concept of money right away.
Yes, they did.
But what would you say you lean towards more, like Star Trek or Star Wars?
Actually, I kind of lean more towards the Firefly kind of scenario. I mean, I do like, Star Trek and Star Wars, but I didn't want, this book is they consider it a light science fiction. Basically, it's not that elaborate like a Star Wars, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to not have it, fixated on only a group of people that read sci-fi. I wanted it to be something that everybody could pick up and read and understand,
Oh,
But,
well, you definitely did that, because you
Oh,
have
thanks.
people that are getting into the sci-fi market. You have those alien people. You have people that love comedy.
Yeah. I hope I hit a lot of different genres there.
So what about online with Facebook? Do you interact with a lot of your fans? How did you find that, since you're new to writing?
Well, since I just self-published in March, the Facebook is taking off kind of slowly. I've already had a bunch of friends, and everything, and they're commenting and everything, but I'm hoping it branches off to more people to join and add comments on what they think.
So, did you self-publish, Raymond?
Yes, I did. I self-published through Amazon. I did send it out to a lot of literary agents and publishers, and they sent back, thanks but no thanks letters. A couple of them gave me some tips to change things around. So I went and hired a couple of more editors. My first editor, Shana King, who's a friend of mine, a journalist and published author herself, she took my first draft and fixed all the sophomoric mistakes. And so after that, I went ahead and after I got the feedback, I went ahead and hired a couple more editors and did a lot of changes. And then the final editor was my older brother, Robert, and he gave me some great suggestions. And that's when I decided to self-publish. I also sent it out to beta readers too. And when I started getting back good reviews, that's when I thought, okay, I'm ready to go.
Oh, beta readers are the best.
Yes.
I'm really impressed, though. For your first book, it's extremely well put together. There's no flaws. There was no mistakes and needless words. You could tell it was really professionally done, which just added to the whole enjoyment of the story.
Oh, great. Yeah. I do read a lot, so I had an idea of how to structure chapters and dialogue, so that helped a lot. I'm a big fan of Dean Koontz, so I read a lot of his stuff, and actually I read a lot of different genres. But I had the concept of how to put chapters together and how dialogue should flow. And I just took it from there.
Oh, that's great. So what's next after this series?
After this 3 series, I haven't really thought that far ahead yet. I might really start researching copyright laws and maybe go back to that first short novel that I wrote based on the Twilight Zone episode and maybe work on that, see if I can publish that without infringing on anyone's copyright.
Yeah.
But I'll have to research that.
Definitely.
But that's
the copyrights gets tricky. How old is Twilight Zone?
Twilight Zone, the original series, I think started in 59 and went to about 63.
And it was only television. It wasn't written, right?
That was television. Yeah, Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. And he actually based a lot of his shows on short stories, I've noticed. Well, the one I was working on was based on a short story also, so I got a lot of copyright laws to look up.
Oh, but that'll be fun. It'll be an adventure.
Yeah. After doing this book one, I realized, why not try to get that one out too? So we'll see what happens in the next year.
Did you always want to be a writer, or was it just because of that song you heard on the radio one day? And do you remember what the song was?
Yes, I do. Have you ever heard of the electronic punk band from England called The Prodigy?
No.
Their song was Smack My Bitch Up. And believe it or not, that's how it happened. I was listening to that, and it's a really actually cool song. Google it. And I just pictured very similar to the 80s animated movie Heavy Metal, when the Corvette drops out of a space shuttle and lands on the road. I pictured the same thing. I'm sitting in my car at a light, and the song comes on, and lane next to me is empty, and I just picture the Ford coming out of the sky, landing next to me, with the guy driving and the Doberman in the passenger seat. And I just thought, oh, that's weird. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's hysterical.
Weird, yeah.
Well, if it's a story, that is so much fun. So you work full time in the television industry. When do you find time to write?
Well, I work 4 days on, 3 days off, so I had a good amount of time to do that, and there is a lot of downtime. So don't tell my boss. So I had a little time to grab a scrap piece of paper and write down something that I wanted to remember, and things like that. So I found the time. If you're going to do something like this, you have to find the time.
That's true. So what about the Outer Limits to Black Mirror? How did that influence you?
The anthology style of show, I'm a big fan of. Well, Twilight Zone's an anthology. Black Mirror is really good. And just the different scenarios, it helps you think of your own, and it really helps when you you read a lot and you get influences from these shows on and it does help creating your own world.
But with all the drama that must go on behind the scenes or television, did you get any ideas from working with your coworkers? Because it's so right on the button. It's not forced, but it's hysterical, the things that happen.
Yeah. No, nothing from work. It was pretty much all out of my head, I guess. Very little influences. Well, the 59 Ford, I have one. It's sitting in my garage and has been for the last 18 years. Still is not running. So when I started thinking about, the old car, I mean, I saw it every day in the garage, so it was a perfect idea for that. And of course, I had a Doberman, so he was perfect for the role. And I used Tampa as a basis of the main city called Westbury, and we have an old historic area in town called Ybor City, and I use that as Old Town, the town that they live in. Of course, Old Town and Westbury are a lot larger than both, because there was a lot more I wanted to do with it. But I used both towns, city and town, as a basis for where Trent and Genghis and the rest of the convicts escaped to.
Oh, so do you have a favorite coffee shop in town?
Do I?
Yeah.
Have a favorite coffee shop? Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbucks.
So what other sites that were in the book are from around your area? What about the factories and things like that?
Well, that's the neat thing about Ybor City. It's a lot of the buildings were built in the early 1900s. I think a couple of them the late 1800s. So it's all red brick, and they have those old gas style electric lights, but and some of the roads are actually brick paved. So it was a great. That area is great for imagining, your characters walking up 7th Avenue, just kind of hanging out and going in and out of shops. So it was fun creating that.
So when you're writing, did you actually go to town and walk around and get the feel for it again?
Actually, no. I did. Well, there was a couple of nights driving home. I get off work at like midnight. That I would drive through downtown Tampa, and it'd be all closed. And this one street I loved going down was lined with old buildings that were built like in the same thing, the early 20s. And that was an inspiration, that just imagining, Thunderbird going down these roads. So yeah, it helped. But I didn't spend a lot of time down there. I've been here for a long time, so I knew the area pretty well.
What about the house they ended up renting?
That was just something I invented. Basically, I wanted them to be in a situation where they had an apartment over a garage, so they could park the Thunderbird in. And of course, the house adjacent to it would be their landlady. And I wanted her to be, this nosy lady that's constantly, interrupting their mission, basically. And they're trying very hard to keep this covert. And they don't want her seeing them doing any of their, because they do have computers and stuff. And so she's an annoyance for them.
It was a great, little twist. Something they had to get around. It was a great way that you twisted that whole character into the story. She was just like...
Mrs. Remke?
Yeah, she was just a woman that we all know somewhere.
Yeah.
That we've all dealt with at some time.
Yeah, everybody has, a neighbor or a landlady that is very similar to this.
It was just hysterical. I had so much fun reading it.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
And I'm truly impressed because you're a first-time author.
Yeah. I was very happy with its turnout too, actually. Especially when I was getting the feedback from the beta readers, which, in my opinion, if you are a author trying to self-publish out there, send it to beta readers, take in what they have to say, into consideration and go for it. It's a very, it was not a difficult process at all.
just a long time getting the first one out.
Yeah. The first one, the second one took me probably 2 years, and it's almost finished now. But yeah, like I said, the first one I would write it for 3 months, get kind of like writer's block, and put it down for 6, and then pick it up again. So first one did take a long time.
What's your favorite book, like growing up?
I didn't read much growing up. I basically in my late 20s really started reading. And right now, one of my favorite ones, I got it right here, Dean Koontz, his Frankenstein series. It's a 5-book series. So right now I finished it about 3 months ago. I'm thinking of picking it up again. That right now is one of my favorite books. I read a lot of Jeffrey Deaver. He's got a great collection of short stories in a book called Twisted, which are great. And Grisham, pretty much try to read everybody. And a lot of King too. But I like reading a lot of genres out there.
I love finding out what authors read that influences their work. So thank you for sharing so much about how you created this series.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. So we can expect book 2 out approximately?
I would say 6 to 8 months.
6 to 8 months? Okay.
Needs a little polishing, and then out to the editors and beta readers and see what they think. And I'll self-publish it again on Amazon. Excellent. I'm also branching off into Barnes & Noble, too. So hopefully in another 3-4 months, well, less, book 1 will be on Barnes & Noble.
Oh, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
Well, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. This was fun. Thanks.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a spectacular adventure and you need a really good laugh, the Interstellar Police Force will definitely take you on that adventure. And you'll have so much fun. We'll see you soon.